Falcon and the Woker Soldier. The failures of Marvel and DC Comics. You know that old saying, that new old saying, get woke, go broke. Feels to me like Marvel Comics and DC Comics are in some kind of race to fail, go bankrupt, parcel themselves out, and sell themselves to communist China if they have not already done that. When are people going to figure out? When are these businesses, when are all businesses, when's Hollywood and media going to figure out that people hate that shit? They hate wokeness and the woke mob, and when you rebel or mock all of that, then you dominate. Because that's what the audiences want. They want something to mock ridiculous silliness like my pronouns, this and that and the other thing. It's dumb, it's lame, it's boring, it's boring. Live however you want to live, don't get me wrong, I guess. We can't function in a society where everyone's little nuances have to matter. Everyone's little thing about them needs to be relevant, because it's not. It's really not. It doesn't matter in my day-to-day life. So I don't have time for it, and people don't care and have time for it, and it's obvious, and they don't yada yada yada. So, DC, for example. Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey and the incredibly stupid, long, failed title. You remember that? The Emancipation of something, something. Why did it fail? Why did it fail? Because it failed. Well, that's because nobody cares about Whammon Power. You know, the whole group of D-level Gotham City characters. D-level, not B-level. You know, B-level, you're looking at, like, I don't know, maybe Penguin or Killer Croc or something. These are D-level. This is Black Mask and Black Canary, which nobody really knows a lot about unless you're an avid comic book reader, watcher, cartoon watcher or something. But you didn't take any B-level characters. Certainly didn't take any A-level characters. You want to make Harley Quinn an A-level character, but she needs that dynamic to push against Mr. J. He's an A-level character. The Joker. If she doesn't have that power structure dynamic, that thing to push against, which you pretended to kill off in the very first sequence, it's just not as interesting anymore. It's not. I'm sorry to tell you that. You could have at least featured some of the prominent B-level characters like Catwoman, right? You could have used Zoe Kravitz or something, I guess. I don't care, whatever. Or Eleanor Tomlinson as Poison Ivy, the friend of Harley Quinn, her buddy, her intelligent friend. Poison Ivy. But you didn't have Poison Ivy, you didn't do a Sirens movie, Gotham City Sirens, and made it more Gotham-esque. You just had D-level characters, Black Mask. You know? Unless you're an avid comic book reader, you don't know who Black Mask is. Or DC cartoon film watcher. He's not the Joker. So, who are you trying to appeal to? Comic book nerds? You'd figure if it's a Hollywood production, you'd want to appeal to the overall pop culture watching, movie watching people. Adults, whatever. Who watch these movies overall. But you didn't appeal to them. You didn't. You failed. You made stupid choices. Okay? So that's something I want to tell the DC cinematic universe, which is always in flux because you are failures. Then if we go to the Arrowverse, right? The DC small screen universe, the Arrowverse, we have Batwoman. So that's for the rare, attractive lesbians that are huge Batman and Gotham City fans. You offer a Gotham City minus Batman. And you lose your first Batwoman because she sees the writing on the wall. Much like the old Birds of Prey TV series. She feels the inorganic flop that's about to happen and doesn't want it to have to be associated to her career once it's getting canceled and off the air, which it certainly is, because it sucks. And then much like all female Arrowverse characters, aside from, Iris, they gotta be lesbians, right? Or bisexuals. I mean, it's pretty absurd that you lose your first Batwoman and then you follow it up, coincidentally, because every woman in your Gotham City is a lesbian, with another lesbian Batwoman. So you lose the first lesbian Batwoman, and then you follow it up coincidentally with a random additional lesbian. So the lesbian percentage in Gotham City, if you are a lesbian, you might want to go travel there, because it's like 75% in Gotham City. 75% lesbians. No wonder the place is chaotic and crazy and falling apart. Frightening. Okay, so luckily, in Batwoman, the new variation, Batwoman 2 point whatever, with the new Batwoman, you get to check off two woke boxes on your little list, because she's also a person of color. So that's good. It's just good you get to check off more than one woke box on your agenda list. But I don't have a problem with people of color as superheroes. I would never have a problem with that. I like Blade and all the other, Spawn. I like it when it's organic. Sue me. I like it when the people who create the characters aren't, randomly we pretend that they're bigots because they didn't initially write or create or animate these characters as characters of color, so we act like they are bigots or were bigots or society was bigoted overall back then. That's a lie. It's just not true. You have Batwing, which is organically a character of color in your Batwoman show, because you had to have a Batman in there, because people aren't, they're not enthralled by your version of Batwoman. They're not, their attention is not occupied by your D-list characters. Neither will they be interested in your Batwing, unfortunately, because he's another D-list character. Could have helped your show by throwing in a Nightwing. I don't know. It's an idea, right? But people are not going to watch it, and it's going to fail. Because the characters you're using, no one's interested in D-level characters. They don't care. They just don't care. You don't even have Harvey Dent in there or something. Do you? I don't know. I watched a couple episodes, and I can't stomach it because it sucks. For DC, the cinematic universe, the TV verse, the Arrowverse, whatever you want to call it, that universe, you might not want to always plan your movies around some sort of box or rock or cube or an orb. But I understand why you're doing it. It's satanic Illuminati symbolism. You have it all over. It's just drawn. The t-shirts of your characters have little pyramids and eyes and stuff when they're walking around their neighborhoods and things. I understand you have to do the Illuminati satanic symbolism, but it's getting old and boring. I get it. There's a cube that gives a bad guy power, so you have to defeat the bad guy and or destroy the cube or the orb or the rock. Satan. Okay. So try something new. Mix it up. I think there are bad guys that don't need powers of orbs. The woke agendas in Marvel and DC are far too vast and numerous to mention, especially in Marvel. Marvel beats DC in many ways, like taking your watchers out of the film because the characters make fun of their own superpowers and things. So it really is like you're doing a joke on the watchers of the show. But also, in addition to that, you beat them in more horrible things. Marvel wins in more contests of horror with their level of wokeness. Like Captain Karen, that Marvel movie with Brie Larson. Was she instructed to do her press interviews in such an SJW, inorganic, confused interview style? I mean, at one point, she even requested that the media interviewers be people of color. In other words, this is a lot of patterns you'll see in Marvel where they manufacture prejudice and racism where there isn't any. Like, what I mean to say is, to be a journalist, you have to have a good interview writing style. There's not an imaginary wall holding back people of color from having the ability to succeed in journalism. That's what Brie Larson kind of tried to imply when she requested that her press interviewers be people of color, which she did at one point. She wanted a very much higher ratio to that effect. There's no imaginary wall. There's no one stopping people of color to be successful media interviewers. That's fake. It's pretend. They could choose to do that if they want, and if they're good at it, they'll succeed. This isn't a wall that you have to break down. This is manufacturing stuff. Brie Larson probably wanted to have more things about her and her personality than are actually there, so she manufactures them. You know, like racism in media interview industry. Not a thing. Okay. So that was embarrassing of Captain Karen. If you want to have a successful Captain Karen 2, you should keep her out of all of the press tours. Because when she did the Infinity Wars interviews and the Captain Karen interviews, it was just horrible and painful to watch and embarrassing for her. It just looks bad. Keep her out of all press tours and press interviews. So let's move on to some spoilers with Falcon and the Woker Soldier. Where Falcon said the legacy of this shield is complicated. The legacy of this... It's not complicated. It wasn't. It's not. Howard Stark created a shield for Captain America to fight Nazis out of vibranium or something. And then he did that. He did a good job and worked on helping to save the world with his shield several times. He was noble. Steve Rogers was noble with the shield. So the shield isn't complicated, the legacy of it, but what he's talking about is something totally different. But let's go to right now. I'm going to talk about the new Captain America, our blonde-haired, blue-eyed, stereotypical white, of course, moron failure. That's what we do with white people now in commercials or TV shows. If you allow them in, they have to be portrayed as an evil moron, which is Captain America 2, the U.S. agent. Okay, and then another thing they do is they use Bucky as a metaphor for white America. When we see into Bucky's past as he's hunting minorities for Russia, Russia's always portrayed as our bad guy. You know, I mean, look at the media. Russian hoax, Russian interference, Russian collusion, Russian. Why do you hate Russians? Because they kind of try to rule in sort of a right-wing way, and I've heard Putin speak as to the value of Christianity, so of course you'd want to tear down Russia every chance you get, because if you're not attacking a white country, then that'd be racist, wouldn't it? Yeah, that'd be horribly racist, but it's never racist to attack Russia because their skin color. As long as you attack Russia, it can't be remotely racist or prejudiced because of their skin color, because you can't be racist or prejudiced towards white people. Thank you for informing us of that, Marvel. Bucky, much like past white America, he has to make reparations for things that happened, things he did in his past towards minorities. But wait a minute, he doesn't have to do that, because Bucky was not responsible for anything that he did while he was under mind control, much in the same way that I relinquish all sins of my forefathers that happened over 100 years ago, when 2%, that's 2 out of every 100 Americans, owned slaves hundreds of years ago. So I relinquish any of that. That's not on my shoulders. I'm not going to try to fix it. I didn't do it. And we ended slavery and things along those lines over 100 years ago. Thank you, Republican Party. And that's great. I'm actually proud to live in an America that has ended things like slavery and all of those laws and things like Jim Crow. I'm proud to live in an America that has ended that. It doesn't exist anymore. So, thank you, Republicans and Conservative Party, for that. But what we see in Falcon and the Woker Soldier is that they have to manufacture. They have to manufacture racism and prejudice. And they're even so racist themselves that their character, Isaiah Bradley, who was supposedly a black super soldier, Marvel itself couldn't even acknowledge Isaiah's existence until 2003, because they're just as bad as the fictional American government they claim had him under wraps because Uncle Sam could not stomach a black Captain America. Right, Marvel? You had Isaiah Bradley under wraps until 2003. You couldn't even do it yourself. Couldn't acknowledge the black Captain America. You're just as bad as America yourself, Marvel. As bad as you're trying to paint America. See, Marvel has to manufacture these things to elicit these emotions inside of us that America is bad and negative. Isaiah Bradley is not a real person, not a real person who existed, who was shoved into jail and swept under the carpet. That's not real. That was fictional. So they created fiction to elicit emotions to get you to dislike America. He wasn't real. None of that was real. So thank you, Marvel Comics, for being basically just as bad as evil Antifa and being aligned with them with your continuous erosion of America. Your goals to just wipe it out. You know, basically, if you're not on board with that agenda of the white guys being the bad guys, if you're not aboard with all of their agendas, like, I don't know, I'm sure they're cool with transgender girls, aka men with penises, inside of locker rooms and beating women with vaginas at sporting events. If you're not on board with that kind of thing, if you're not on board with completely open borders, no borders at all, which is another Falcon and Woker Soldier theme, and women power, if you're not on board with all of that, then you don't get a pass. But if you are an ally with all of the radical insanity, then you get a pass. You get to be part of the show. So I know what you're thinking. This is white fragility. It's his white fragility talking. What white fragility is, what white fragility is what you call someone when they don't apologize for their views, and when you cannot offer a logical and or rational argument for your support of Marxism and communism. When you can't offer a rational argument, then you go into the realm of ad hominem and you say white fragility doesn't mean anything. I'm not very fragile. I'm willing to have these conversations and debates, and I challenge you to have them with me, in fact. So I don't know if that makes me fragile. Anyway, can you imagine for 1 second? Can you imagine if there was a comic book universe where they valued America and, I don't know, where they pushed American concepts to the forefront, like liberty, free speech, the right to bear arms? Those are good things. It's good to own a gun. All of us should have a gun, regardless of race. We should all have guns. We should all have the right to say what we're going to say. Because one thing about free speech, a lot of people are like, what about hate speech, Casey? What about that? Well, how do you know if someone's a hater if you don't let them talk? Maybe you don't want to be around somebody that you think is that you would label as a Nazi or something, but you're sitting right next to them on the bus because they keep themselves quiet because they don't want to go to jail. Well, I think people should get to say any damn thing they want, because I don't want to sit next to a Nazi on a bus or anything. So I need people to be able to expose themselves as evil so that I can avoid being around them and they can face social and societal consequences. I need people to be able to speak and be themselves, so I know if I want to stay the hell away from them. That's important. That's what free speech is. Okay, so imagine if we had a comic book universe that valued those things. They valued equality of opportunity, and not equity, which has zero consistent metrics or judgment or qualifications or empirical benefits. What if our heroes, our superheroes, were so strong of characters that they wouldn't be able to play the victims that Marvel portrays them as? Think about that. I mean, Marvel even portrays their superheroes as victims of the culture. pathetic. My superheroes and all my heroes, all my heroes are too strong to play the victim or to be victimized. That wouldn't be a hero to me. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching Free Speech Northwest. And like, subscribe, share, comment, and I'll say hello. I'll comment back. And check out our t-shirts in case there's a t-shirt we have that says something or expresses something that you've been thinking and feeling. Because chances are, it's there. Hey, listen, now that you've done the appropriate thing and you've given us the thumbs up, the share, the subscribe, the notification, and left a message, which I will pretty much definitely reply to. I mean, usually, almost always, I reply. Now it's time to look at your wardrobe. Take a close look at what you're wearing and see if it really truly represents how you feel. It's time to be outspoken. It's time not to hide in the shadows and not express yourself with a shirt on how you feel about masks, squirt guns, gun rights, just about anything. Driving through Portland, critical race theory, the definition of Antifa. We have all kinds of shirts that represent potentially how you feel. So take a minute, take a second, take a couple minutes, whatever. Check out our t-shirts on the Free Speech Northwest eBay and Etsy. We're on eBay and Etsy. Take a look at our shirts, see if any of them represent how you think and how you feel, because you might have found yourself a new wardrobe. Lucky you, okay? So don't forget, I assume you've already subscribed. Leave a comment, tell me you subscribed, and I'm gonna say, hey, hi, thank you. I appreciate that. And let me know if there's anything you want to hear or see or any stories you want me to do, because I want to know what you want. Thanks. Bye.